Now, after 8 years, Justin Trudeau and the NDP are not worth the cost. After 8 years, the NDP Liberal government has given us the highest cost of living ever, the fastest inflation in 40 years, the worst increases in interest rates in monetary history. Yesterday, we learned that despite all their rhetoric about social justice, the NDP Liberal government has given us a bigger gap between rich and poor, concentrating more wealth with the billionaires and leaving the working class living in tent cities. After 8 years of Justin Trudeau, 2 million people, a record-smashing 2 million people, go to a food bank in a single month. After 8 years of Trudeau and the NDP, the city of Halifax now has 35 homeless encampments. 35 in one city. After 8 years of Justin Trudeau, the cost of fuel is driving up the cost of everything. After 8 years of Justin Trudeau, housing costs have doubled. The rent has doubled, mortgage payments have doubled, and the needed down payment for a home have doubled. Housing costs in Canada are about 50 to 75% higher than in the United States. Toronto has the worst housing bubble in the world, according to UBS, and Vancouver has the third most overpriced housing market on planet Earth, according to Demographia, after 8 years of Justin Trudeau. After 8 years of Trudeau, it's more affordable to buy a 20-bedroom castle in Scotland than it is to buy a 2-bedroom apartment in Kitchener. After 8 years of Trudeau, it now takes 25 years for the average family to save up for a down payment on the average Toronto home. You used to be able to pay off a mortgage in 25 years. How things have changed after 8 years of Trudeau and the NDP. And what is his solution? His solution is to quadruple the carbon tax with the help of the NDP. That will raise the price of gas, heat, but also groceries. Because when you tax the farmer who grows the food and the trucker who ships the food, you tax all who buy the food. This, while a record-smashing 2 million people are forced to go to food banks, 7 million people are not eating enough to remain healthy. 1 in 5 skipping meals because they cannot afford the cost of food. That is why common sense conservatives introduced Bill C-234. This is a bill that takes taxes off farmers. Right now, Trudeau's tax applies to heating barns and drying grains. That means that our farmers have to charge more for energy. I have a mushroom farm in my riding that spends tens of thousands of dollars on carbon taxes alone. That has to go on the price of mushrooms that you buy at the grocery store. It forces more of our food production to be outsourced to foreign countries. Trudeau's carbon tax applied on the CO2 that a tomato farm in my riding has to release into its greenhouse, even though that CO2 doesn't even go into the atmosphere, it goes into the plant life, making Mexican tomatoes more affordable in my community than local tomatoes. How does that make sense to incentivize Canadians to buy tomatoes that have to be trucked and trained burning fossil fuels right across North America rather than buying the more environmentally friendly tomato from their local producer? Common sense conservatives have Bill C-234, which amazingly has passed the House of Commons against Justin Trudeau's opposition. It has now made it to the Senate. And encouragingly, common sense conservatives in the upper chamber have been able to work with some other senators to win some procedural votes on this bill, C-234. So the drama is now building because Trudeau has said he won't allow any more carve-outs to the carbon tax. We remember that just a few weeks ago, he carved out the tax on home heating for some people in regions where his support was plummeting and his caucus was revolting. But his environment minister says he will resign if there are any more carve-outs. He says, as long as I'm environment minister, there will be no carve-outs. That message to Justin Trudeau is very clear. He's going to have a cabinet resignation if this bill C-234 passes the Senate. So what's going to happen? Well, the pressure is on. And today, I announce that the Common Sense Conservatives are launching a full-on campaign to push for Liberal senators to allow the passage of C-234 to take the carbon tax off farmers and food. We now know that Justin Trudeau's top ministers have been frantically calling senators, begging them to block this bill. My message to Canadians is, call your Liberal MP. Tell them to get Justin Trudeau out of the way. Tell them to call the PMO and have them announce that the Senate will be allowed to pass this bill. We can't have more taxes on our food when 2 million people are already forced to food banks and Canadians are forced to downgrade their diets. This is a common sense solution. It's a compassionate solution. And we pledge to work with all Canadians over the next weeks to mount a massive pressure campaign, just as we did on home heat, to take this tax off. So join with Common Sense Conservatives. Let's take the tax off so Canadians can feed their families. Thank you.